Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm kind of late because I know we're on like day 75 of Grammys discourse, but like I do want to document my thoughts because I do have a lot of thoughts. I'm a self-proclaimed music lover, not music critic, let's be clear, but 2024 I honestly think was like one of the best years in music in like recent history. Like I genuinely think we're not coming close to a year like that in a while. Like that was an insane stacked year. So like the Grammys were always gonna be, everyone was saying this year the Grammys are gonna be a bloodbath, like it's gonna be stand wars like we had never seen, and it was it was but as someone who like loves like pretty much every artist that was nominated this year, also let's talk about how it was all basically women. I didn't notice a single man. The Grammys this year were just excellent, and not only were the Grammys excellent, it was like one of the best Grammys in terms of like the outcome that I think I've seen in my lifetime. Like I honestly was not mad at pretty much anything. I only have one singular note and we'll get into it, but like pretty much like everyone who I wanted to walked away with something. Like I honestly think the results were like pretty accurate, and like usually they be snubbing people left and right, but like they actually didn't do half bad this time, and I'm like, wow. I was going in so cynical after watching the Grammys for however many years. I was like, you know what, like we could be doing all this discourse and like album of the year is gonna go to some no name because the Grammys like to play in people's face, but like this year, why they kind of, I don't know, it was so good. So let's just get into this. I'm gonna try to make this, my videos usually be like long as heck, and I don't even know, I want to say like I'm a yapper. Am I? I don't think so, but like on things that I actually like really like to talk about, I can just like kind of just go on and on. I kind of just talk in circles, but I can go on and on forever. So I'm gonna try to keep this like relatively short. You know what? I'm gonna start with like the main things. Let's just get right into album of the year discourse. I genuinely, like, I can't believe that I have lived to see the day, to be honest. Like, we finally have secured an album of the, I'm saying we, Beyonce. Beyonce has finally secured an album of the year. Like, it's been a long time coming. Word to Taylor Swift. Like, the fact that it hasn't happened already. And the thing is, I said this, I don't know if I said this on YouTube, but I think I said it on TikTok. I did a Grammy predictions video, and I said Cowboy Carter should win album of the year. Well, not only do I think it was one of the best albums of 2024, obviously. I said that in my video about the 2024 albums, 2024, but I genuinely think it's like one of Beyonce's best albums too. Like, I think it's definitely top 3 in Beyonce's discography, and like, that might sound crazy, I don't know. But like, Cowboy Carter and Renaissance are like 2 of my favorite Beyonce albums. Like I think some of her best stuff, and like you may be like, oh, you're a new fan, new gen, but like I genuinely think it's like Cowboy Carter, the first time I listened to it, I was like, this is incredible. Like it is such, like when you talk about like an album, this is like the definition of an album. Like from beginning to end, it just like tells a whole story. Like the theme is so strong throughout the whole album, and all the songs are like incredible, like incredibly inspired. I honestly went into Cowboy Carter because I don't listen to country music like at all. I don't listen to country music. I'm one of those people who's like, I don't listen to country, like I'll listen to anything but country. So like the fact that like Beyonce got me to listen to a country album, and like I love it. Beyonce is the only person who can make country music actually sound good. Like even some Beyonce fans have like used the talking point that like Cowboy Carter isn't her best album, and like I said this on TikTok. What if I said it was? Like, I genuinely think Cowboy Carter is one of her best albums. Like, I know she definitely should have had an album of the year by now, for sure. Like, people always talk about Lemonade and Renaissance and, like, all of these other albums. And, like, she definitely should have one by now. But what if I said that I'm kind of glad that this album in particular is what she has album of the year for? Like, it's so... like there's so much to unpack on so many levels, but like just the meaning of this album in general, obviously, like being shut out from country music, going back to her roots. Like people always act like, oh, Beyonce isn't country, she's from Texas. Like she just did so much like genre bending and genre shifting. Like I genuinely think this is one of her best albums. Some people say like, oh yeah, like maybe it wasn't her best, but like she still, I genuinely think this is one of Beyonce's best albums. I really do. And I think they especially, like the Grammys have tried time and time again, and I think for this album in particular, they knew they just could, the music was too good. The music, this is like legendary music on Cowboy Carter. Like, you know, some music, it's, you know, it's a sign of the times, a word to Harry. Like, it's just, it was the vibe at the time, but like there's just some music that like transcends like trends, and like Cowboy Carter is one of those albums that like people are going to be listening to for like years. Like it's going to be a staple, like an American classic. Like Cowboy Carter is incredible, and I loved it. I said on TikTok, just for American Requiem, she should have won. Like that first opening track, Daughter, the opera, what is it, opera singing or whatever on Daughter, incredible. Ya, what she was doing on Ya, like the whole album is incredible, and I'm so glad. Compared to the other albums, like it's just kind of like ahead of everyone else, but like the Grammys broke my soul so much, to the extent that like I didn't even think it was gonna be a possibility. I was like, they clearly have a vendetta against Beyonce, and I was thinking that like there was just no way, because like they snubbed her once, twice, 3 times, and I was like, okay. It got to a point, you know what I mean? Like it gets to a point where you're like, okay, something is actually wrong here. Like something is broken in the process. Like they clearly just don't want to give it to her, because it's not even like she hasn't made music that is deserving of Album of the Year. She's done it several times. So I went into this Grammys thinking like, obviously Beyonce is always going to be one of my clients, and like I love Cowboy Carter, but like I went into this Grammys like thinking it probably wasn't gonna happen because of their past. But like if I was just thinking about like the album that should win it, I always said Cowboy Carter should win it. Cowboy Carter was always gonna win if they did the right thing, but I just didn't have faith in them to do it. I really didn't, because it got to a point like after watching several Grammys and you see her be snubbed so many times and you're just like, what now? Like, and I also think it's like actually such a like beautiful thing that like Beyonce, something I actually like really admire, is that like most people would give up. She's obviously I think she's the most like awarded Grammy nominee ever, like Grammy winner ever, never having an Album of the Year. Like after so many times, most artists that haven't even put out as much music as Beyonce give up when they get snubbed like one time. So like most people, if they were Beyonce, would have given up by now. Like Beyonce has consistently, something I admire so much is that like even after being snubbed and losing it so many times, she continues to like, well, obviously it's because she is just like, this is her craft and like she's good at it, she's passionate about it, whatever. But like she continues to make good music and she continues to like re-innovate. It's just so incredible to me, because I'm like, most people after losing Album of the Year like at least 3 times, they would have been like, okay, it gets to a point like I'm not even gonna submit anymore. Most artists do that, a lot of artists do that. I just think it's so amazing that like she really just never gave up, and like it's so amazing to finally see it pay off. It's kind of a crazy conversation, because it's like, on one hand, I'm like, okay, like it's so amazing to see that this has all paid off. But on the other hand, like it shouldn't have taken all this work. And so I'm not gonna applaud the Grammys too much because this is crazy. But I do think it's like so great that she just continued to like make albums and she never gave up. And now she finally has an Album of the Year like years later. So yeah, first and foremost, I am so happy for the Cowboy Carter win. Like I loved this album. I knew she was a stronger contender in Album of the Year than I originally thought once she won Best Country Album. When she won Best Country Album, I was like, wait, the Grammys might actually be turning the wigs around here. Like, hold on. Because Best Country Album, you know they don't like to be given that kind of stuff to people like us. Like, I knew that at that point, like, Cowboy Carter was making some noise. And I think it was so cool, like, Beyonce was so shocked, that meme where she's like, Beyonce was so shocked. I honestly did not think she thought she would win it, which is so crazy to me, because, like, that album, I haven't listened to the other albums, child. I'm not tapped into country like that, but I can confidently say that it's better than all those albums, and I haven't heard them, but I just know it. Her winning that, I knew definitely she was in the race for Album of the Year. But still, I was like, it's a toss-up. When she won that, I was kind of scared. Even though, like, you kind of do need to win your, like, genre category to kind of be in the Album of the Year race, I was still nervous that, because what happened with Renaissance, they gave it, like, Best Dance, I'm pretty sure, or something like that, and then they snubbed it for Album of the Year, so I was like, okay, she won Best Country, but are they just giving her that to, like, pacify her, and then they're gonna give Album of the Year to someone else? So I was still, like, a little bit worried, but I was like, okay, they like it. They like it enough to give it Best Country Album, and you know they would have preferred to give it to one of the other people if it wasn't all that, you know? So you know how I said, I think this was the best Grammys ever. Everyone got what they deserved. I didn't think there was a lot of snubs, But there is one notable snub that I think there was. And, you know, the discourse has, like, distracted a lot of people. There's been a lot of noise. But I'm gonna stand in my truth regardless. I am actually still sick at the fact that Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie, my girl, my sister, the fact that she went home with nothing, it truly makes me upset. Like, it truly does. And, like, whatever, I've tried to pretend, like, oh, I don't even really care that much. Like, I'm a Billie stan. Like, I've said this before. I've gotten to the point with Billie. Billie was, like, one of the many artists that I used to listen to. But after Happier Than Ever, Billie is, like, in my, like, top tier, like, one of my favorite artists. My main girls. And so, Hit Me Hard and Soft. I said that Hit Me Hard and Soft was, like, my personal favorite in terms of, like, the album I've listened to the most. The fact that Hit Me Hard and Soft went home with actually nothing is what's making me sick. The thing about, like, all the discourse is, like, a lot of Billie fans also have been, like, taking this to extreme proportions, and they're, like, some of them are being racist. I don't know what all of that's about. A lot of them are saying, like, crazy things. The thing I think Billie stans are getting confused is Cowboy Carter was always, like I said, Cowboy Carter was always gonna win if they went with, like, truly, like, the true album of the year. Not in terms of popularity, but, like, the album itself. Like, Cowboy Carter is an incredible, like, cohesive body of work. Nothing was touching Cowboy Carter. So the Billie stans are, like, aiming all their frustration at Beyonce, and it's like, Cowboy Carter is not the problem. Like, Cowboy Carter is 1,000% deserving, but I do think a lot of the other categories Billie was snubbed in that she shouldn't have been. Like, Album of the Year, I don't think she should have gotten Album of the Year. Even though it was, like I said, based on the numbers, it was my Album of the Year. Like, I listened to Hit Me Hard and Soft the most out of all of these albums that are here. My personal Album of the Year was Hit Me Hard and Soft, but, like, cultural impact, Cowboy Carter was just, like, miles ahead of everyone else. So that was never gonna happen. So, like, the Billie fans are focused on, like, Album of the Year. Billie was my second option to get Album of the Year if they didn't give it to Beyonce, because I was like, okay, if they want to be racist, like, if they don't want to give it to Beyonce that bad, out of all the other girls, out of all the other white girls, Billie should be the top white girl. She just should. It was always gonna be Beyonce if they were, like, doing what was right. You know what I mean? So, like, Billie fans are so fixated on that, but I'm like, they snubbed her in all of these other categories that I don't think she should have been snubbed in. Like, I forget Album of the Year. Let's talk about Record and Song of the Year. Those should have been on lock. That's what's making me sick. I'm not worried about Album of the Year. Even, like, pop vocal, well, you know, I'm gonna go easy on pop vocal because it was Sabrina, and we'll get into, like, the whole Sabrina of it all. I'll go easy on pop vocal, but, like, even some of, like, the pop categories, like pop solo, I think, stuff like that, I think that's where, like, Billie was truly snubbed. And I do agree that, like, Billie was snubbed. Like, people are acting like, oh, your fave just didn't make a good album, like, Billie wasn't snubbed, she just lost. I do think she was snubbed. Like, Hit Me Hard and Soft, putting aside everything else, like, yes, Cowboy Carter was a better album, but, like, Hit Me Hard and Soft, I don't like the discourse. People are trying to, like, drag Billie and Hit Me Hard and Soft, and I get it, like, it's a bunch of stan wars, they're just mad because Billie fans are coming after them, but I don't like this, like, talking point. I've been seeing this a lot, that, like, Hit Me Hard and Soft wasn't anything special. Billie just made the same music she's always been, the same sad girl music that she's always been making. I disagree with that so heavily. I'm like, you can say Hit Me Hard and Soft wasn't the album of the year. Like, that's fair. Going as far as to say Hit Me Hard and Soft was, like, the same album she's always made. When you say Hit Me Hard and Soft wasn't innovative, that's where you lose me completely. Like, I do agree. Was it all the way there for album of the year this year? Maybe not, just because of Beyonce, but Hit Me Hard and Soft was an incredibly unique and innovative album. One of Billie's more out there albums, in my opinion. I think about, okay, so my favorite Billie album still to this day, as much as I love Hit Me Hard and Soft, like, love it down, Happier Than Ever is still my #1 Billie album. Like, I just love that album, so I genuinely think that is, like, a no-skip album. And I think the way people are talking about Hit Me Hard and Soft this year is actually more so what Happier Than Ever was. Like, Happier Than Ever, if you think about, like, the classic Billie sound, that's what's on Happier Than Ever. Like, Happier Than Ever, like, nothing is really too crazy on that album, but it's, like, the Billie sound you know and love at its best. Like, it's like classic Billie, but the best of it. And so, like, it's excellent, it's incredible, but, like, she didn't do anything really, like, crazily different on that album. It was a step up from Where We All Fall. This is, like, a personal side thing. I think that's, like, bottom on my list for me. Which is crazy because I do like that album, but, like, Out of these three, I think for me it goes Happier Than Ever, Hit Me Hard and Soft, and When We All Fall Asleep. That's like a mouthful. Oh my god. When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Like, that's the ranking for me. So I think like when people talk about like, oh, Hit Me Hard and Soft was not that interesting, I just do not agree at all. You have songs like on Hit Me Hard and Soft, you have songs like L'Amour. L'Amour is like it's like two different songs in one. The ending half is like some kind of EDM fusion. Birds of a Feather, it's just like, you know, a standard pop song. But Billie has never, if you think about it, like if you really go through her whole discography, Billie does not have a song like Birds of a Feather. She has never made like a true, like pure pop song like that. Like, that's like an anomaly in her discography. Like, yes, it's not like it's never been done before. A song like that has never been done before. But Billie herself has never made a song like that. That was like, and I remember hearing it all in the album and being like, the first time I listened to the album, it was my favorite. It still is my favorite song on the album. But I remember that song stood out to me so much because of that. Because I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, this is such an interesting, this is different for Billie. Chihiro is one of the most unique songs I've ever heard. It's kind of along those lines, like EDM. It's a little bit like house type vibe. Say what you want about the album of the year, Discourse and all that, but it makes me so annoyed when people say Hit Me Hard and Soft was not an interesting album. You can say it wasn't album of the year. You can say that you didn't like it as much as you like the other albums. You can say you didn't like it at all, but like, I think to say that like, she didn't take any risks on this album is like lying. Like, I don't think that's an honest statement. Even if you didn't like the music, I don't think it's honest to say that Hit Me Hard and Soft wasn't interesting. Like, I just don't think that's true at all. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really upset about this Billie snub. And it's like, because all of the fan bases are fighting and I'm in the middle, because I love all of these people. I love Beyonce, I love Cowboy Carter, I love Billie, and I love Hit Me Hard and Soft, and I love a lot of these other albums. I love Tortured Poets. I'm in the middle, and I feel like I'm watching all my family fight, and I'm like, not too much. You have the Cowboy Carter stans attacking Billie and attacking Hit Me Hard and Soft. Granted, some people are getting a little racist, but they're attacking it and they're saying Hit Me Hard and Soft wasn't all that, it wasn't even that good, the music is trash. They're pulling up clips of Billie and they're saying she can't sing, and I'm like, not too much on my girl, like, please. And then you have the Hit Me Hard and Soft fans. Well, I'm just gonna ignore the people who are being racist. I don't know what that's about. Some are saying that like Cowboy Carter wasn't good, and I'm like, no, y'all. You know what's crazy is because I usually think that like Billie Eilish fans, I'm like, y'all have taste, right? Because like Billie is like an incredible, unique artist. Like, she's not a basic artist by any means. So like, I feel like to like Billie Eilish is to have some sort of heightened taste in music. So like, to say that Cowboy Carter was not a good album, anyone who says that, you can say you didn't even listen to it. Like, I'm not saying you have to say Cowboy Carter is your number one favorite album. It could not even be your personal album of the year, but to say it's not good music, like, anyone who likes music at all, if you have any kind of appreciation for music, you would at least respect what Cowboy Carter is. So like, Hit Me Hard and Soft fans saying that Cowboy Carter was not deserving or if it was not good, it's just disingenuous as well. It's kind of been a hard week on the internet because it's like, I don't like to see any of it. Like, I don't like to see any of the Beyonce lashings. I don't like to see the racism. And I don't like to see people dragging Billie either. Also, one last thing on like the Billie of it all. A lot of this discourse started, I believe, because at the end, when Beyonce was announced for Album of the Year, they panned to Billie. First of all, someone set her up. You know, a lot of people are setting Billie up this week because why would you pan the camera to Billie? I don't even think they panned the camera at like any of the other nominees, but they put the camera on Billie knowing that she was like getting emotional. They put the camera on her multiple times, and like, the thing about it is I've been seeing a lot of discourse on this, and I'm just gonna clear this up now. I'm gonna be real on like what I actually think happened. So Billie was like tearing up, like you could see her tearing up, and like she is like genuinely like holding back tears, like she is like visibly a little bit like upset once Cowboy Carter is announced for Album of the Year. I've been seeing some people saying she was being like a brat, like she wasn't happy for Cowboy Carter, and then I've seen she was crying for Beyonce and she was happy for Beyonce and that's why she was crying. She was crying because she lost. I would love to like stop some of the discourse by saying that it was because of Beyonce, but like, I can't lie. Like, she was crying because she was upset, but I don't think, first of all, like, I think that's like a natural like reaction. I would, if I lost Album of the Year, I would be upset. Like, I don't even care who I was up against. Like, I would, Like, I think that's like a normal like human reaction to like be upset when you like lose something. And it's not like she was like throwing a tantrum. I don't know, her eyes were getting a little teary. Like, I've cried for much less. I've cried for losing things that are way less important. Like, I think it's normal for like Billie herself to feel a little bit like, dang. But what I will say is, I do think she was crying because she lost, but not, people are like, oh, why would she think she was gonna win album of the year? I don't think she was like upset because she lost album of the year. I think I know exactly what happened, especially because Hit Me Hard and Soft had such a big year, like such a huge year. Everyone, honestly, a lot of people were thinking she was gonna go home with a lot. So like, Hit Me Hard and Soft had such a big year. Everyone has been gassing Billie like this whole year. Like, Hit Me Hard and Soft is so good, Birds of a Feather is so good, everything is so good. I'm not trying to say like she was going in there like cocky or like, oh, I'm gonna sweep. I don't think that, but I do think like in the back of her mind, because of everything that she's been hearing, she had like her thank you next year, like Ariana had, right? Like, she had a year that was incredible, and so everyone around her is telling her, like the whole world is telling her, this album was amazing, this album was great. And so she's going in thinking that like, okay, like it seems like a lot of people like this album. It seems like maybe I'll probably leave here with like at least one thing. I'm gonna go home with at least one award because of like, based on like what I know about how people are receiving this album. And so she goes through the night. I think where she started to get like, she started getting a little freaked out as the pop categories were closed and we didn't win anything in there. We didn't win anything there. And then we went to like record and song of the year, which I swore they gagged me with that. I swore we had that unlocked. And I'm sure she kind of thought like, okay, at the very least, that's what I'll be going home with. So I think once we got to those categories, and then Kendrick obviously won those, she started to get a little like, okay, because at this point, these are like the last 3 awards of the night. So she's going through the night like, okay, like, you know, I'm losing this, I'm losing that, but like, whatever, like there's still a lot more to come. And I think as the night went on and the awards were getting given out and, you know, there were less and less to look forward to, it was kind of like building up this anxiety. And so I think her reaction to album of the year, it wasn't like, oh, I thought I was gonna win album of the year, but it was like her last hope, even though I think she knew that like it was pretty unlikely at that point because of, you know, all the other snubs, her to just pop out with album of the year. It was very unlikely. Like, I think she knew that, but like it was the last thing she was holding on to. Like, she was holding on to just like something, right? So like all these categories are passing. Song of the year passes. She's like, okay, maybe record of the year. Like, record of the year passes. She's like, okay, like maybe by some miracle album of the year. So I think she like was upset by like Beyonce winning album of the year. I think the upsetness was just like the confirmation that she wasn't gonna get anything. I don't think it was like she was upset because she lost album of the year. I think she was upset because album of the year meant that the night was over. Like, so therefore like it solidified that like she truly wasn't going home with anything, whereas before she was like, okay, like maybe I have something ahead, you know? I don't like how people are dragging Billie on the timeline. Like, no, that is my girl. Like, I'm not allowing that. I'm not allowing any Billie slander, just like I'm not allowing any Beyonce slander. But like, people are like, oh, she was crying because she was so happy for like Beyonce and what this award meant for the culture and all that. And I'm like, no, you could tell that like she was actually crying because she was upset. Like, because some people are emotional for Beyonce, but like, you know when you're crying and like it's a happy, proud cry. Like, you know, for example, like Lady Gaga, she was like emotional, but like you could tell it was more like a joyful emotion. But like Billie, you could tell it was because like she was actually like genuinely hurt. I would be too. I was sick for her, not because she didn't win album of the year again, but because like she went home with nothing. Like, going home with nothing was crazy. Hit Me Hard and Soft was too incredible of an album to go home with nothing. I think that's what happened. But Beyonce and Billie, I love them both. I think they were the top 2. I think that's why this discourse has gone in this direction, because I really do think there's been a lot of discourse about who else was gonna win album of the year. I think these 2 were like the top contenders. I honestly don't think anyone else stood a chance. As someone who has listened to pretty much every album, except for, I don't think anyone listened to Andre 3000. No shade to them. I don't think anyone listened to Andre 3000 and Jacob Collier's albums. But I've listened to, well, except for Chapel Roan too, but I've heard a couple songs. Out of all of these albums, I've listened to them, like the majority of them. And as someone who has listened to pretty much everything, I do think the top contenders were Beyonce and Billie, and probably Chapel. I hadn't listened to Chapel's album, but I've heard, like I said, I've heard a couple of songs, and like she's had an incredible year, like such a big year. And it's, from what I've heard from Chapel, like the songs I do know, she is very like innovative and her sound is very interesting. I think sonically, I'm not talking about numbers, I think sonically, if you're talking about like the actual music itself, the strongest contenders for album of the year were Cowboy Carter, Hit Me Hard and Soft, and Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. I think anything else, it was just not even in the conversation. Like, a lot of people, there's been, first of all, let me get on Brat for a second. I haven't talked about this before on here, I don't think. I did not like Brat at all. I did not like Brat at all. I know it was like a Brat summer for a lot of y'all. I let y'all have fun. I let y'all have your fun, but your fun stops at album of the year. I'm so sorry. Brat was never gonna win album of the year. I hate to break it to you, but it was just never gonna be that. And I tried to, like, I'm not even hating, like, just to hate. One thing about me, I'm always gonna tune in. So I didn't even listen to Charlie XCX like that before this, but when Brat came out and, like, everyone was talking so positively about it, and they were like, oh my god, Brat is, like, the album of the year, I was like, okay, let me tune in. I pressed play on that album, and I was genuinely gagged, and not gagged derogatory, like, gagged not in a good way. Like, I was like, this is just a bunch of noise. I do not know how you guys listen to it. I do not know how you guys enjoy Brat. Brat was just not for me. Brat was just not for me, and that's okay. So I will let y'all have that. But Brat was never gonna win album of the year for multiple reasons. First of all, I saw a rumor that people were saying, oh, why are Billie Eilish fans mad? Brat was runner-up. It was never gonna be Hit Me Hard and Soft next. And I'm like, I literally saw a couple days ago, I saw the person who started that rumor on Twitter. They were like, oh, I'm just gonna say Brat is the runner-up. And the fact that everyone has been, like, peddling this talking point, I'm like, I saw someone make it up on Twitter, and everyone is just going with it now, acting like that is coming from some reputable source. There's no proof of that. Some random person just made that up on Twitter. Now everyone is saying that Brat was the runner-up for album of the year. It was not. Another reason why I know Brat was not gonna be album of the year, someone who I follow talked about this, how, like, the Grammys always produce the show around, because they know going into the night, obviously, who the winners are. So they produce the show around who is going to be, like, the big winner. And so, for example, for Cowboy Carter, like, best country album was, they moved it to a little bit later when they knew Beyonce was gonna show up, because they knew Cowboy Carter was gonna win best country album, and because later she was going to win album of the year. They want to show the big winner. They want to have at least one showing of them earlier in the night, so you can kind of tell, like, if you hack to watch the Grammys, if you ever want to tell who's, like, kind of a contender for the night, it's usually someone who has, like, won one of their, like, genre categories, and it's been televised live. Like, someone who has shown up previously in the televised categories is likely to be one of the contenders for album of the year. So if your category isn't even in the televised section, you're likely not even, like, in the running, because they want to show you at least, like, a little bit before you actually win, like, the main award. They want to show you winning, like, your category award or whatever. So for Charlie, for example, once we knew that all the dance categories were in the pre-show, Brat was never gonna win album of the year solely because of that, because they know who's gonna win. So if Brat was actually gonna win album of the year, the dance categories would have been in the live show. They would have included the dance categories in the live show for us to see Charlie, see her win the award, and then go on to win album of the year. So, like, Brat was never in the conversation. Like, I'm so sorry. Okay, let's talk about Short and Sweet next, because some background on me, by the way, I am an OG Sabrina fan. When you talk about OG, I was listening to Sabrina Carpenter before anyone else was. I was listening to Sabrina Carpenter before it was cool to listen to Sabrina Carpenter. So, like, I don't want to hear anyone talk to me about Sabrina Carpenter. I've been listening to Sabrina Carpenter since 2015. Side note, my sister was a big Girl Meets World fan. Like, she got into Sabrina Carpenter during Girl Meets World, and so, like, I was introduced to Sabrina Carpenter since then, since, like, 2015, kind of against my own will initially, but, like, I obviously, like, started getting into her music and it was really good. But, like, I genuinely have been listening to Sabrina Carpenter since eyes wide open. I have listened to every single one of Sabrina's releases ever. I know her entire discography. So let me just preface this by saying I am a Sabrina Carpenter veteran. Like, do not talk to me about Sabrina Carpenter if you don't know, if you weren't there for Evolution, if you weren't there for Singular Act 1, which is her best album, by the way. Let's talk about it. Let's wake it up. If you don't know the song Paris, if you don't know Mona Lisa, if you don't know Thumbs, if you don't know White Flag, let's talk about a true deep cut. Like, I know Sabrina Carpenter. I know Sabrina Carpenter more than any of you do. And not to be like, oh, like, pick me, choose me, love me, but, like, I'm just saying that before I say what I have to say about Short and Sweet, just know that I know Sabrina. I've been here for Sabrina Carpenter. I was here for Sabrina Carpenter since Skin dropped and everyone was lighting her up on TikTok. I have stood by Sabrina Carpenter through it all, through everything. Me and Sabrina have been through a lot. It's been a long time coming. And you know what? I'm so happy that she has had like her breakout year and everyone's finally recognizing like how incredible of an artist she is, because she is. She's incredible. She has such an amazing voice. And that's what kind of like just shocked me this whole time as I've been listening to her throughout the years. This whole time I was like, how is she not bigger? Like, she has an incredible voice. Her music is amazing. Like, it was always really confusing to me that Sabrina Carpenter wasn't bigger than she was. And I guess like y'all are here now, I guess. Let's talk about Short and Sweet. So Short and Sweet, I've said my opinion on this a couple of times, because the thing about Short and Sweet is like, Short and Sweet is a really good album. Like, Short and Sweet is like a pure classic pop album. Short and Sweet is like a textbook pop album. Like, Short and Sweet is a masterclass in pop. So Short and Sweet is an incredible album. I understand anyone who hasn't listened to Sabrina, if you're new to Sabrina Carpenter, I understand why everyone is gagging at Short and Sweet. If you have never listened to a Sabrina Carpenter song, if Short and Sweet is your first introduction to Sabrina Carpenter, or like Nonsense and like all those were on Emails I Can't Send, but like those kind of songs, the people who have just recently been introduced to Sabrina Carpenter, I understand why they're gagging so much, because like if you've never heard music like this, you're like, oh my gosh. But if you know Sabrina's actual discography, you would know that Short and Sweet is not even her personal best. Not to like beat a dead horse into the ground, like whatever, like the time has passed, but I will never stop saying Emails I Can't Send is her best album, still to this day. It's kind of what I was saying about like Cowboy Carter in terms of like just a body of work. Emails I Can't Send is like a good body of work, like from top to bottom. She also does like a lot of interesting things on that album. It's like obviously pop, but like the country influences that were on Short and Sweet, she has better versions of on Emails I Can't Send. Like, Emails I Can't Send was the blueprint for Short and Sweet. And so like Short and Sweet, I feel like it's getting a lot of the love that Emails I Can't Send should have gotten. And like whatever, like I said, the songs on Short and Sweet are good enough. I like them. Like, I have a lot of songs on Short and Sweet I like. But my issue with Short and Sweet, and this is just a personal, I feel like it's just like good, but there's nothing that's like drawing me. There's nothing that's like super interesting about Short and Sweet to me. And that sounds crazy because there are a lot of songs that people love down and they're so like unique and interesting to other people, like taste and like all the jokes that she like intertwines in the music. Like, I think a lot of people like it on Short and Sweet, but Short and Sweet, to me, the music itself, there's a better song on Emails I Can't Send for every song on Short and Sweet. And so like when Short and Sweet came out, like there were a lot of songs that I liked. Like some of the ones that I do like, let's see, I liked Good Graces, I liked Slim Pickens, I think is one of the best songs on that album that no one talks about. Slim Pickens, Juno I liked, Lie to Girls I really liked. Yeah, like I had songs that I like on Short and Sweet, but to me, I listened to it when it first came out, but I have had no desire to ever go back and revisit a single song on that album. And like, I don't know what it is really. Like, I can't really even fully articulate it. It's just like Short and Sweet to me, it kind of just came and went, if that makes, like Short and Sweet to me feels very like, dated sounds crazy, but like to me Short and Sweet feels very just like it was a vibe at the time. Like Short and Sweet feels very like 2024. Like Short and Sweet to me doesn't like stand the test of time. Like I don't ever really want to go back and listen to a Short and Sweet song. Like I'm just like, oh, that was like a summer 2024 type beat. But like Short and Sweet, I don't know. I just never have any desire to revisit it. So yeah, I don't think Short and Sweet, like in terms of album of the year, I don't really think it was like that big of a contender. And people are talking about, oh, Short and Sweet beat Hit Me Hard and Soft in all the pop categories. Like Short and Sweet, if anything, was gonna be the pop album that was chosen. And to me, my thoughts on Short and Sweet and like the Grammys, I am very happy, and I do think like it was the right choice in terms of pop vocal album and Sabrina getting the pop categories. Like I am really happy for Sabrina Carpenter, just for the sole fact that like she's getting recognition after all of these years. Like, I'm happy just for that. Even if Short and Sweet is not for me personally, not for me is crazy because I like the album, but like, even if Short and Sweet isn't my favorite, I'm still so happy that like Sabrina is finally getting the recognition she deserves. Like, I am so happy. So like, don't get it twisted in all this. But I do think like a lot of the awards for Short and Sweet, like for in the pop categories especially, it's more so to me, it gives like recognition of like her breakout year. People finally like seeing what I've known to be true this entire time, but like people seeing the potential with Sabrina Carpenter. Like, to me, Short and Sweet getting those awards is more so because of that and less so because Short and Sweet was like the best pop album of all these categories. Like, I don't think Short and Sweet was like clearing every other pop category as an album itself. I just think like the categories were kind of won in part because of the year Sabrina has had, which for that alone is deserved. For that alone, I love, and I wouldn't like necessarily take away, like if you asked me to give the Grammys, I wouldn't necessarily take that away to give Billie this award, because like it's been a long time coming for Sabrina. Like, we needed this. Team Sabrina did need this. But people are talking about it like Hit Me Hard and Soft wasn't even a better album than Short and Sweet. And that's where I have to stop you there. As someone who is a big fan of both of these people, as I just told you, I've been listening to the thing about Sabrina is I've been listening to Sabrina long before Billie Eilish, long before I even knew who Billie Eilish was. Like I said, I've been listening to Sabrina since Girl Meets World. Before I even heard Ocean Eyes for the first time, I was listening to Sabrina Carpenter. So like I am like probably one of the more neutral parties in this. Like, I love them both down. However, like, you're not convincing me that Short and Sweet is a better album than Hit Me Hard and Soft. That's where I have to draw the line. And like, again, like I wouldn't like change the awards. Like, I am happy Sabrina is getting recognition, but like Short and Sweet being better than Hit Me Hard and Soft is crazy. Short and Sweet is like, it's kind of like basic. It's kind of just basic pop, and it's good. It's good basic. Like, it's a great example of like, you know, basic standard pop, but like I don't think Short and Sweet was anything that hasn't been done before. Okay, and lastly, just in these album of the year categories, let's talk about Tortured Poets Department. I talked about this in my 2024 pop albums video. I loved Tortured Poets Department. Like, the thing about Tortured Poets Department is I actually think this is like maybe an unpopular opinion, I don't know. I think it's one of Taylor's personal best. People are talking about it's too lengthy, it was a lot going on. I don't agree. I think it's one of Taylor's best. I would say maybe top 3. Top 4 at least. I think it's one of her best albums. I think Tortured Poets Department is Taylor's Eternal Sunshine. Walk with me. Like, I think Tortured Poets Department is Taylor's, like, it takes pieces of all of the best, all of the different sounds that Taylor has done over the years, and like all of the kind of like genres that Taylor's done. I think it combines like all of those. Like, you have some like country inspired things, like But Daddy I Love Him is giving like very much like old like country Taylor, and then you have some stuff that's like very much like folklore-ish, like the Albatross is a folklore song if I ever heard one. You have stuff that's like very much like midnightsy. Like, Tortured Poets combines a lot of Taylor's like best work into one album. So when people talk about Tortured Poets, and when I talk about Tortured Poets, I say this as someone who loves this album and who thinks this is actually one of her best albums. However, like compared to all of these other albums, it doesn't even stand a chance. Like, I'm not even gonna hold you. It's nothing compared to Cowboy Carter. It's nothing compared to Hit Me Hard and Soft. I do think it's kind of better than Short and Sweet, to be honest. I listen to songs from this more than I do with Short and Sweet. I haven't listened to Chapel Roan's album, but I think a lot of people would say that Chapel's was probably better in terms of just, I think this is the disconnect with Taylor. This is the disconnect that a lot of people have with Taylor. I don't know. This is my theory. I think the problem with Taylor Swift's albums, she makes incredible music, actually. Like, incredible music. So, like, when people always have this discussion about her and awards and what she deserves and what she doesn't, I think the main disconnect is I don't think, as someone who loves Taylor's albums, I love all of them down. I think the problem is Taylor, I don't think has ever made an album that has, like, shifted the culture. I think that's the main problem when we talk about like Taylor Swift and awards, and why I say this as someone who is a Taylor Swift fan. I think that's why a lot of other people don't get it, because if I think about like a lot of other artists, like I was saying, Beyonce has shifted the culture multiple times. Like, she has changed music in a lot of ways, like the sound of music, what's relevant in music. Like, she has been like a leader in like culture, and I don't just mean culture as in like identity, like DEI. I don't just mean like culture as in like identity. Like, even like Billie, me saying she shifted the culture, like, I really do think she did. Billie shifted. When Billie came on the scene, she introduced kind of like a new genre or like subculture of pop music. Like the Billie Eilish like signature sound genuinely was something that hadn't been done before, or at the scale that she was doing it. Like Billie and Phineas introduced a new type of sound that no one had ever heard before. Even like a Sabrina, like even though I just went on a rant talking about Short and Sweet, Sabrina is doing a lot of things that like no one else is doing, like sonically. Like she's tapping into like a lot of interesting influences. A lot of people who are maybe less popular, I think they've shifted culture. Even Charlie XCX, I just said I'm not a Brat stan, but even Charlie XCX, Brat did shift culture. Who do you know that was listening to a dance album, a dance pop album before Brat? And people just weren't really listening to that genre much, but like Charlie like introduced this whole style of music. And as much as I love Taylor Swift down, I think that's why a lot of people, like when you talk about Taylor Swift and they're like, oh, you like her music's not even that good. I think what they mean by that, I don't think, because if you listen to Taylor Swift music, it's incredible. Like I think if a lot of people gave Taylor's music a try, they would actually see that like it's really good. I just think I can't think of a single Taylor album that has like, even like I just said, as much as I love Tortured Poets down, I don't think Taylor has ever released an album that like she like went against the grain and like did something she's never done before that like changed the culture of music. Like Taylor Swift has always done, she's always made great music, incredible music a lot of the times that's like maybe ahead of her peers, but it's always like within the context of like what's safe, like genres that are safe. Even like with Midnights, people talk about Midnights and Tortured Poets like, oh, Jack Antonoff production, like it's always like the same synths and the same beat. Like I don't really fully agree with that, but I do think to some extent, like, she's always doing things, like, within a box. I think Taylor needs to think outside of the box a little bit. Like, if we want to enter, because that's what sets apart, like, people from being just, like, big artists to being, like, legendary. Like, if Taylor wants to reach, like, a Beyonce level status, the thing is, Swifties always bring up numbers. Swifties always bring up numbers and all that, but, like, what is going to be, like, Taylor's, like, cultural impact, like impact on the music industry? I mean, I think maybe her strongest thing would be like songwriting, but how much is that actually like influencing the industry as a whole? And so yeah, Tortured Poets, as much as I do think it's crazy because I do think it's her best work, I just think like, first of all, it was just never gonna win against any of these albums, but I think like for Taylor's next era, we need to think outside of, we need to gag the live. I think maybe honestly the closest thing she's got to that is Reputation, which is crazy because she never got awarded for that. Like she didn't get any Grammys for that. I think honestly maybe the closest she's done in terms of shifting the culture has been Folklore. Folklore, she kind of turned the wigs around. She was gonna be entering a dark era if she went down the Lover path, even though like I actually, Lover has grown on me a lot and I actually really do like Lover. If she had continued going down that route, I think she would have been in the Kia Asylum a little bit. So like Folklore, maybe I would follow you if you said Folklore. I think Folklore shifted the culture and like introduced a lot of different, like I think there would be no like Phoebe Bridgers or like Gracie Abrams without Folklore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so maybe that. So you know what? Maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe Taylor Swift has that. But like those kind of things, that's what I'm talking about, is like Taylor needs that to be able to like, especially in a category that's this stacked with people who are like outdoing themselves in this category, especially like all of these people are doing something particularly like innovative. And as much as I love Tortured Poets, I don't know that Tortured Poets was like that innovative. Yeah, Tortured Poets, it was just unfortunately not in the running. I think Taylor knew that too. Like she went into that night, I think knowing that she was just gonna be a seat filler. Like she was just there for vibes. She was there to present the award to Beyonce, present the country album award to Beyonce, and dance and have a good time. Like I genuinely don't even think Taylor Swift thought she was gonna win a single award for Tortured Poets. I was gonna be very upset. I am so glad she didn't win Album of the Year, because I was gonna be very upset if Taylor Swift honestly had taken home any category. It was gonna be giving rigged. If she won Album of the Year this year, like last year, I barely let it slide because I do think SOS was even a better album than Midnight's, but we don't even have to get into that, whatever. Midnight's I don't think was her strongest. I think my hot take is I actually think Tortured Poets is better than Midnight's, but she just had a bigger year that year with Midnight's. Same thing with Sabrina. Like, I think she won for Midnight's because of the year she had and not because of the album itself. So she won for Midnight's, which was a sneak, but like winning for Tortured Poets Department, although I think Tortured Poets Department is the better album, there's no justification. Like, they couldn't give an actual justification as to why Tortured Poets was better than any of these albums on. Okay, I know I talked about Billie for like literally an hour and a half, but like I do also need to talk about this song and record of the year more in depth because I'm so upset by this. Like, I can't pretend. Yes, I am honestly acting like a crazy stan, but like I think it's so ridiculous that at the very least Birds of a Feather didn't go home with something. I think that is insane. I've said this before. I think Birds of a Feather is one of those, like, Birds of a Feather is going to go down as, like, a classic. Like, it's one of those songs, like, weddings, graduations, like, going to, like, surpass, like, Billie herself. You just know, like, one of those songs. What are songs like this? The Climb, We Are the World, Human Nature by Michael Jackson. Like, one of those, like, incredible Why is that happening? Birds of a Feather is just gonna go down as like it's an incredibly written song, like just a beautiful song. And what makes me so upset about this like song of the year, record of the year stuff is that Birds of a Feather got no recognition because of some irrelevant beef between two mid rappers. Like, no shade. And the thing is, I said this on TikTok, they're gonna try to take away my black card because I'm not a Not Like Us stan. I never cared for that song. Even before all this, even before it took away a Birds of a Feather win from me, I never cared for Not Like Us. It just, like, I do not care about anything that's going on between Kendrick and Drake. I literally do not care at all. I don't think the song was all that. The song itself, like, I didn't hear anything that was that gag worthy, to be honest. Like, certified lover boy, certified pedophile, like, okay, like, I don't know. I just don't think the song itself is that great, and people are gonna be like, oh, what it did for the culture or whatever, and it's like, you just can't convince me that was better than Birds of a Feather, we should stick together. Like, I don't think Birds of a Feather changed my life. Birds of a Feather was literally the soundtrack of my year last year, and not only mine. The thing is, I don't make my arguments on the Grammys based on like, oh, just my preferences, but like, I do think most people would agree that like Birds of a Feather was a huge, like, insanely impactful song. Like, I just do. I think the impact, when you talk about cultural impact, like, I think the impact of Birds of a Feather is more significant than Not Like Us. Like, Not Like Us, I just think people liked it because, like, everyone hates Drake, and like, I don't know, everyone just thinks it's funny to hate Drake right now, and like, valid, I guess. Birds of a Feather was the collateral damage. Like, I just hate that, like, if this beef never would have happened, Kendrick never would have released this song, and Birds of a Feather would be song of the year right now, and that makes me sick. I wouldn't even be mad at Not Like Us why did they feel the need to give it both record and song of the year? Like, was that not greedy? Like, I feel like that was a little too much. I would have been fine if it, like, when it won the first one, I forget which one it won first. Record, I think it was record of the year that it won first. When it won record of the year, I still wasn't that stressed. I was like, okay, Kendrick got record of the year, fine. Song of the year, it's us. Like, it's us. And I was like, I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. I was shocked that the Birds of a Feather left there with nothing. Like, a Birds of a Feather, I am so sorry. I know that upsets me more than anything. Like, I don't even care. Well, not that I don't care. I loved Hit Me Hard and Soft as an album, but I don't think anyone can argue that Birds of a Feather didn't deserve something. Like, I think everyone can agree that Birds of a Feather deserve to walk away with something. Even if I try to put my Billie bias aside, which is hard for me, but even if I try to put that aside for a second, I don't think Not Like Us is better than almost any song on here. I don't think Not Like Us is better than Texas Hold'em, to be honest. I don't think it's better than Espresso. Espresso was like a huge song. 360. I'm not even a Brat person. 360 was the one song that I did like on Brat. 360 I would give it to over Not Like Us. Good luck. I think Birds of a Feather, after Birds of a Feather, Good Luck Babe, I think should have got this if it wasn't gonna be Birds of a Feather. Good Luck Babe is an incredibly, like, produce, like, an incredible song that just, like, is so much more meaningful to me than, like, what, like, I just don't, it actually annoys me so bad. It actually annoys me so bad, and I'm tired of pretending like it doesn't. Fortnite I think was a crazy, why the Tortured Poets Department era was always destined to be a flop is because she put Fortnite as the single, and I like Fortnite, but like the fact that she chose that song to like be the face of this album is just not serious. I think it was because Post Malone was on it, so she thought like, oh, the like star power of both of them would carry it. But this song is not even top 15, the extended version of the album. Like Fortnite is just not the best song on here. I just think that's crazy. I personally like Fortnite better than Not Like Us, but I mean, no one was gonna let that slide. And in terms of song of the year, let's see, Die With a Smile was better than Not Like Us. Please, please, please. A bar song, Tipsy. Like, I just don't think, like, the thing that was so crazy about Not Like Us is in all of this discourse, I never imagined a world where this would win. And that is what is the most sickening to me about all of this. The fact that Kendrick won, I never even considered this. They gagged me so bad. Like, they gagged me so bad. I never considered this possibility at all. I considered Chapel winning. I considered Sabrina winning. I considered Shabuzi winning. Never in my life thought that this was gonna win. Genuinely. Best New Artist. So honestly, Best New Artist this year was stacked. This was a toss-up. I honestly had no idea who it was gonna go to. For the longest time, I thought it was between Chapel and Sabrina, but then Doechii. The thing is, I thought people were sleeping on Doechii. I've been listening to Doechii for a while. I wouldn't say like I'm an OG fan, but like since Persuasive, I think that was the first Doechii song. Let me see. I think that was the first Doechii song I had ever listened to. Wait, let me see. Is that the first Doechii song that I knew? She's so persuasive. Yeah. Persuasive, like Crazy. Persuasive was the first Doechii song I ever heard, but I listened to Crazy. The thing is, I've been on the Doechii wave, so the fact that there are a few artists where I'm like, I feel like I knew before a lot of people. Doechii kind of became one of those people. Like, I've been listening to Doechii for like years now, so the fact that Sabrina, like, see how I've been listening to Sabrina? I just know, I have my pulse on what's like hot and fresh. Like, I had my pulse on the culture years before y'all knew about Sabrina. Years before y'all got into Doechii. Like, I don't know some of the old stuff, but like, I had been listening to Doechii for a while. I actually saw this tweet that was funny. I'm trying to find it. Oh, I saw this tweet that was talking about Doechii, and they were like, I was listening to Doechii in 2020, but whatever. And it has this like screenshot of a TikTok that was like, by the time y'all get on what I'm on, I'd be on something else. And like, that's so true. Like, the fact that everyone is just now waking up to Doechii is crazy. Like, y'all just finding out now that Doechii is good. Like, I've been listening to Doechii. I don't know, in all these like performances that she's been doing recently, like Doechii, like she kind of came up in the race. Like, I was thinking that like maybe Doechii might take it. I honestly want, like, if you talk about my personal Best New Artist, I would think it was Doechii, but Doechii or Sabrina I would give it to, just because I haven't listened to Chapel. Not even because I have anything against Chapel, but like those were my two. Yeah. Also Ray, I kind of wish for like, why is it so loud right now? Ray, I kind of wish in a world where this wasn't as stacked, I kind of wish Ray got a little something. I like Ray, and the thing is, like, I haven't tuned in like that. But like Ray, I think, is one of those people, again, like people who are just doing something that no one else is doing. I don't even know what you would call it, like the inspiration behind it. You know, the performances she does, like with the mic and she's like barefoot. I don't know. It's just so like inspired, and I don't know what the actual reference is. But it's so cool. Like escapism. What is the song that I loved recently that she just put out? Genesis is an incredible song. Incredible. I see a sinner. That song is incredible. And just like, I feel like everything that Ray has had to go through, because apparently I think she was like dropped from her label or like had issues with them, and then she went on to have this like big breakout year with escapism and everything after that. Like, I would have loved a Ray Best New Artist as well, but I knew that was gonna be tough with everyone else in here. But yeah, I think Chapel deserved. Like I said, I haven't even listened to the album, but like the few songs I do know are incredible. Good Luck Babe is incredible. I don't think that's on the album actually. Is it? It is. I think it is. But yeah, Chapel 100% deserved. Shabuzi is also in here. He's great. So yeah, I think everyone deserved. Okay, wait, I need to talk about Benson Boone for a second. Benson Boone, I saw a tweet that basically summed up how I think everyone feels about Benson Boone. The tweet was saying how like, we need Harry Styles to come back to save us from whatever Benson Boone is. Like, Benson Boone, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of whoever the powers that be trying to make Benson Boone happen. Benson Boone is just a Walmart version, like a gas station version of Harry Styles, and the music sucks. Like, there's very few music that I like like can't stand to hear. Like there's music that I don't personally listen to, but I'm like, I understand how other people like this. Like people who like this type of genre or this type of style of music, like I understand how other people would like it. Benson Boone's music, I genuinely like, I don't respect. Like I don't even respect music that sounds like this. Beautiful Things is one of the worst songs I have ever heard in my life. It is god awful. And like I can't even sugarcoat it. Like I do not understand how people listen to that. I saw a video where he was doing like his Genius interview or whatever for that song, and he was singing. Some of his like fans were like, you know, it's actually really impressive to be able to like sustain like the belting that he's doing, and like he's an incredible vocalist and all that. And my thing with Benson Boone is like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can like scream and holler like that without like completely like damaging your vocal cords, it doesn't mean you should. And honestly, I don't know if that isn't damaging his vocal cords. Like I do think it is, but like I don't know. I feel like it is. I feel like there's no way you can be screeching like that all the time and you not have like permanent damage in your lungs. Like I just don't understand how that's possible. The other thing that's just annoying about Benson Boone, he's a derivative of Harry Styles, but the thing that he doesn't get, or his team or whoever is behind the Benson Boone industry plant, the thing that they don't get is like, you can't reheat the Harry Styles nachos, because Harry Styles himself, quiet as it's kept, and I'm a Harry Styles fan, I love Harry Styles, but quiet as it's kept, Harry Styles is also reheating a lot of other people's nachos. He himself is already drawing a lot of inspiration from like things that people have already done before. The only reason why it works for Harry is because he was kind of the first person to reintroduce it. Even though it's not actually unique, it's unique in the sense that he was the first person to bring it back. Sparkly outfits, a little costume for like men, at least. I don't even know what you would call it, 60s, maybe 70s inspired music. Like he was the first to bring it back, and so he gets the originality points just for that alone, just for bringing back something that, you know, hasn't been done in like some years now, and like, you know, adding his own touch and making it his own. So he does get some points for that. That's why it works for Harry. But why it doesn't work for Benson Boone is because he's a clone of something that's already a clone of something else. So it gets cheapened every single time. Harry is already like he's kind of stealing. He's stealing a little bit from like other male artists who have done something similar. But Benson Boone is now stealing from like the artists of like the 60s and 70s and Harry, and he's also trying to make it his own, but honestly he's just watering it down even more. So it's like the most watered down version it can get, and it just like my thing about Benson Boone too is like, I don't even know if it's so unconvincing too. Like at least Harry, when he puts on a little sparkly pant, a little like open button top, he gives that he wants to do it. Benson Boone, he looks so uncomfortable. He looks so uncomfortable in like that sparkly little onesie. I'm not even convinced that he wants to do it. And my thing is like, if it doesn't work for you, and this is like you're not woke friend on a Tuesday, I understand that we want to do like the not like hyper masculine man in music. Like I get that that's what we're trying to go for, but also if that's not your vibe, like if that's not your juice, you don't have to do that. Like if you're not comfortable in like these like tight fits and like all of this stuff, you can just go the traditional route that fits your vibe. And Benson Boone, it just feels like he's trying to fit himself. He's trying to fit like, what do you call it, a square peg in a round hole, and it's like it's not working. It's not working. I need him to go back to the drawing board. Actually, I don't need him to go back to the drawing board. I've seen what I need to see from Benson Boone. I honestly don't need to see him ever again in my life. That's just the thing with Benson Boone. He has a brand around the worst song in the universe, and so therefore there are people who will just never care to tune in, even if he could put the best song out in the world tomorrow and I would never listen because I never want to hear the sound of his voice again. Like, not to be dramatic or anything, but I just feel like his career is kind of over. Like I just feel like he can't get any bigger because he's just made too much of a brand of stealing nachos to the point that like no one cares. Lastly, I don't know how long I've been talking now, but really quick, I just wanted to talk about best pop vocal album. Like I said, I already gave my thoughts about Short and Sweet. I do think like I am happy Short and Sweet got it. I think deserved. Short and Sweet was also like still an incredible album. So like I am happy. I am not mad at a Short and Sweet win at all. Do I think Hit Me Hard and Soft was the better pop album? Yes, but Eternal Sunshine is in this category. See, I be forgetting because being an Ariana Grande, y'all know I am an Ariana Grande fan. That is my girl. That is my number one girl. Being an Ariana Grande fan during the times like these, the Grammys is tiring. I'm tired. I'm honestly so tired. Like the fact that she is like, I think one of the worst, like next to Beyonce, not next to Beyonce, after Beyonce, I think she is one of the worst snubs that the Grammys have consistently done. Like, I just think Ariana is too much of like a generational talent, like not to be dramatic, but like she is too much of a talent for her like career and for her discography to go so unrecognized. Like, it's honestly really shocking to me. It's really disappointing to me. And the thing with Ariana too, with black people, like I know how they move. Like, I know part of the thing with Beyonce is just that like she's black and so they just don't want to give her awards. But my thing is like, what's y'all's issue with Ariana? Like, why is it that the few white girls that I choose who were actually incredibly talented, why can't they get anything? Like, some of y'all's faves that are mediocre, that can't hold a note to save their lives, they somehow like can get Grammys and win all these awards, and I'm like, what? Where is that same energy for Ariana? Like, where is that same energy for Ari? And another reason why I started, not to go back to Billie again, but like I think that's another reason why I was like starting to be upset by like this Billie snub. Like, whatever, like Billie has won things in the past before. Like, it's not like Billie has never won anything before. Like, it would be dramatic to say that, but I also feel like, okay, she was snubbed for Happier Than Ever. She didn't get anything, which, like I said, it was my favorite album. Hit Me Hard and Soft Now, she went home with nothing. Like, I don't like the direction we're going in with Billie either. Like, I'm getting Ariana flashbacks. Like, Billie and Ariana, like, both my two flops. Like, I don't know. I'm getting a little scared. So that's another reason why I'm scared about Billie. But yeah, Ariana, like, not even getting nominated for Album of the Year. And the thing is, like, I guess now that it's done, since Cowboy Carter won, I'm not mad at Eternal Sunshine not getting nominated because Cowboy Carter was always gonna win. So like, it kind of, I guess in the end, it doesn't really matter because Beyonce won it anyways. So like, it was never gonna be Eternal Sunshine. But I think it not even being nominated is crazy. Genuinely, Eternal Sunshine is like an incredible album, and I think I heard someone say this, and I guess it's true. I think one of the only reasons why it didn't really get much is because she was really busy with Wicked, and so I don't think she was doing a lot of like the politics around the Grammys. I think people don't like to talk about this. The Grammys is very political. Like, you have to like campaign for the Grammys. I feel like people don't know that, but like they be campaigning to win, and so like, maybe it was that like Ariana and her team, like they couldn't really cash out the checks like they should because like she was busy with Wicked and like whatever, and even if they did, like they like to snub her anyway, so would it even have mattered? I don't know. But yeah, Eternal Sunshine not getting anything was crazy. We Can't Be Friends is also one of, like, talk about song of the year, like that song is incredible. I think Birds of Feather is song of the year over We Can't Be Friends personally, actually, but We Can't Be Friends not even being nominated, what is that about? Like, genuinely, what is all of this about? Like, the thing is, they made this whole thing about how they made up with The Weeknd, that whole segment where like they showed that he had an issue with them and he performed, and it was supposed to be like this big gag that no one really cared about. I don't even care about The Weeknd. Can y'all make up with Ariana next? Like, can y'all make things right with Ari? Because she needs to start getting awards. Like, it's starting to get a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, there was Chapel here too. Chapel, I could have seen this going to too. Torture Poets, like I said, it was just never gonna be. Every time I see all of these albums and then I see Torture Poets at the end, I'm like, oh, bless her heart, bless her. But like, I think that's all. I think those are really all my thoughts on the Grammys. So yeah, overall, I do think though it was one of the best Grammys in terms of like, they kind of didn't miss. They had their pulse on the culture this time. I'll give them that. And like, I don't know if anything has changed behind the scenes since like all these previous years and this year, but something felt different. Like, the show itself was so much better. The results of these awards were so much better, minus the Billie snub. I'm still gonna be mad about that. I don't care what y'all say. I do fundamentally believe that she should have gone home with something. Like, I'm sorry. No one can convince me of otherwise. But yeah, like, it was one of the best ones they had in a while. Even the performances. I was gonna talk about this, but I think I talked for too long, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But Sabrina ate down. Like, I love that she like mixed it up. I hate when like people do live performances, especially at something like the Grammys, and they just like sing the song and go. Like, I like that she did like a whole kind of like concept, different transitions and like fun thing. Like, I loved that. I think it was the best of the night. Yeah, I would say that. I would say it was the best in the night. Chapel, Pink Pony Club, that ending where she has the audience sing it back to her. Every time I hear that, like, I get chills. Like, it's so incredible. I don't give Brat much. I didn't even like Brat that much. But I actually thought Charlie kind of ate that performance. I kind of liked it. I kind of enjoyed it. Like, that was actually pretty good. Like I said before, I'm sick of Benson Boone. I never want to see him do a flip ever again in my life. Ray, her performance was really good. Ray takeover incoming. Maybe in 2025. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the Grammys. Let me know your thoughts, however, if you have anything negative to say about Cowboy Carter or Hit Me Hard and Soft, I don't want to hear it. Like, it's actually, I'm taking it personally now.